Three, two, one. Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome to episode 301 of the KBMOD podcast. It is November 19th, 2017. I'm here joined with a group of lovely men, including Brandon, Yingity Ying, and our very own hardballer.
Hello!
Whoa!
I'm here.
He's been on the cast here and there, and he returns yet again, which I did not know until very recently before the cast started. I don't know. Yeah.
Gracious podcast host. Who are you?
Of course. I'm Katie Zen. I mean, that goes without saying.
Okay, yeah.
I'm more interested, Brandon. I know you've actively fought for Hardballer to not be on the podcast, but what changed this week?
I helped him with Diablo.
No, I mean,
Diablo time.
Look, every now and then it's nice to change things up. And Scott's gone this week, as you can see. He's not on the cast. He had a family commitment. So I figured we would bring Dan on. Just have a nice little, this is a nice little pre-Thanksgiving powwow. We're having a little Friendsgiving on the cast here. So I figured what's another, why not have another friend join us, you know?
Am I your friend, Brandon?
Yeah, of course.
Aww.
Why wouldn't you be?
I feel like we're growing in a relationship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, until you say something stupid, and then it'll knock it down a peg.
Oh.
If there was ever like a Brandon dating sim, it would be the most difficult task ever made. Like,
dude, could you imagine?
You're like trying to balance spending time with them, saying the right things. Brandon, there are like 30 other mechanics you need to balance.
Brandon's like an episode of Rick and Morty. You just need a level of IQ that's off the charts to understand any of it.
Completely unpredictable.
Just like.
I'm being told
young Sheldon's IQ.
Oh my god! Don't bring young Sheldon into this. Also, I'm being told
about the Big Bang Theory.
Let's keep that discussion out. I'd like to apologize. I'm being told that I said Yingity Ying, and I'm very sorry.
You did. There was definitely a slight accent on the yang there. That you, but that's okay. Yingity Ying is. You know, I don't think he'd get mistaken for anyone else's name on here.
Yeah. I wouldn't think Volition or anything close to that. But yeah, what have we all been doing this week? Been doing good. Brandon, let's start with you.
Not a whole lot. I've been mostly working on just kind of catching up from work. I was gone last week on vacation, so as with many adult jobs, going on vacation is great while you're on it, but getting back from vacation perhaps doubly as bad as before you left.
Yeah, it's so bad.
So yeah, you kind of spend the whole week just getting back to where you started. But it's nice, coming into Thanksgiving week, things kind of slow down a little bit, so you get to
that's good.
You get to relax a little bit more than usual. And we've been busy with trying to buy a house. So that takes up, and as it turns out, that takes up an inordinate amount of time. And I'm learning that. So we're in that process right now.
Would have been a good cast of APL on, because that would have been a great discussion between you two.
Yeah. Well, we're still in progress. So I'm sure I'll have updates
just move to Philly,
for that
Brandon.
later
It's
on.
really easy to buy a house around here.
Yeah. Yes, I could buy for what I'm trying to buy a house for here on the West Coast. I could buy 5 houses in the Philadelphia area.
Yes.
So yeah, I appreciate the reminder.
All right, getting back into the swing of things. That's good. Ying, how are you?
I've been good. I've been kept busy with work for the most part, although earlier today, I did manage to finally get myself to stream for the first time in a very long time.
I saw that.
The last time I streamed before today was before TwitchCon, so it's been like a month. So I really let things slide, but trying to get back into the swing of it now. Trying to do at least like a weekly stream or something like that, which is all, of course, still in support for Extra Life. And it was cool though. It was very encouraging. A lot of the regular people came back right away. My sub count was actually perfectly fine. It was a little bit lower, but I was expecting the place to be barren. And was far from it. So that was very encouraging. I think it was just trying to get over the mental gap of, doing that first stream back after a while. I also discovered today, Brandon talking about vacation time reminded me. Today I discovered that I have 2 weeks of vacation I need to take in the next 2 months or I lose it.
Oh, man.
And so, try to figure out when I can do that, because 2 weeks is just way too long to take off all at once, but it's too long to take off within the span of 2 months anyways.
Just do it.
So
You should just do it around Christmas if you can. Like, that's a pretty common thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No one's gonna miss you around Christmas time, and just take off a second week.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to try to do. Unfortunately, I think most people at my workplace have also tried to book Christmas off, and they're still going to need someone around there because we stay open on all the days except for Christmas Day. But anyways,
So
just sort of back myself.
Here's the play. Here's the play, Ying. Then because everyone else is taken off, you basically in the lead up to Christmas, you kind of let them know, drop some hints like, oh hey, I was thinking about traveling for Christmas, and just bring this up with different people, and they're like, oh, but I'm taking off already. I already asked off, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. I guess I can like forgo my plans or whatever, right?
No,
and you build
that's
up.
not what you do.
No. You build up sympathy with people, all right, and then you say, all right, you know what? I guess since I'm the only one here, I'm gonna take off the whole 2 weeks after Christmas, and you guys can deal with the after Christmas rush.
Oh, gosh.
How does that sound?
Perfect.
Yang, what you do is you walk in, you look the guy right in the eye and say, hey, if I wanted to, I could fuck you right now on this.
Oh my God.
Who is the guy?
His boss, obviously, and he doesn't want to get fucked on his desk in front of everybody, so he's going to give you that time off.
So let's just back this up just a quick second. My senior director is a woman. So this could come off in a very different tone than I think you're going for. Me walking up to my female boss and telling her, "Hey, I could fuck you right now." I don't know.
You just say it more politely then. Just say it more politely.
How is there a polite version of that? Hey, just letting you know.
I'm just gonna go ahead and
hey,
say
right now,
Brandon's
I
idea is immediately far more appealing.
I was gonna say, I guess in Hardballer's alternate reality, you could just take infinite vacation if you want, because that's what you would get. I think he actually, you don't. It turns out you don't lose your vacation if you just get fired.
It's true.
Why even look for vacation time then? You could just not work.
Man.
Well, I'll take both of those into consideration. I might take one into far more serious consideration, but
yeah, get fucked.
And that'll be my answer for next week. That's what I've been doing all this next week, is weighing those two options.
Okay. There you go. That's several days of thought.
Yeah, that's 7 days of thinking.
Wake up, contemplate, sleep.
Yeah.
Yang, I'm curious.
Yes.
I've not really ever been to a museum kind of around the holidays. Is it are Thanksgiving and Christmas like popular times for museums typically, or is it like a little bit quieter?
It's only busy for us because we rent out our space,
Okay.
and we get a lot of corporate Christmas parties. That's why we're busy.
I see. So you're not so much busy with like museum stuff so much as just the venue is still busy.
Yeah, that's right. And they still need we still need to fulfill all of like the museum obligations of like gallery supervision, and providing like our public programming items, which come along with renting the space. So it's still sort of like operating the museum as normal. It's just to a private party instead of the public.
Okay.
I've been to a museum once.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
What'd you see?
It was pretty fun.
What did you see while you were there?
I don't know, some like paintings and shit.
This is an incredible story.
All
This
right.
is this is why we brought you back. Illuminating tales like this one.
What do you want me to say? Like, oh yeah, I really love pictures and shit on the walls. Like, I don't know.
Why did you gain an accent after leaving the museum?
It does things to people.
I don't know. People always go to museums and be like, yo, you want to go to the museum? And I'm like, No.
Can I just
Why not?
Can I just deconstruct real quick that you said, what do you want me to say in response to what I said? You interjected saying you had gone to a museum. Presumably
I don't
you
remember
had
this
something
at
to
all.
add to that.
Oh.
That's
fair enough.
These are how conversations work. Generally, if you say something, people expect you to expound upon it because you've kind of diverted the potential direction of the conversation.
I do that a lot.
KD, what have you been doing this week?
Yes. You know, I was not prepared to jump in. I was still thinking about Hardballer's museum plight. No, but I've had a pretty good week actually. So, settling into my new job, and I'm extremely happy with it. And yeah, it's been great. A couple nights ago, we're actually museum I'm working at, Newfields, is they're doing like
You all work at museums?
yeah,
What is
that's yeah.
happening?
Actually, it's weird. The position Ying's in is in a much higher place than I am. I'm just a gallery guide, so I just tell people to get off of shit, basically.
Oh.
Yeah, I was actually going
Totally
to ask.
do that.
I was going to ask how your new job was going. So I'm
Right,
glad
yeah.
that you brought it up.
It's great.
Yeah. So
I'll talk about
here's
that.
How many shifts have you worked there so far?
Well, I've worked 6. For some
Okay.
reason, I had to shadow for 5 shifts, and shadowing as a gallery guide is extremely boring, because all a gallery guide is doing is just monitoring a certain exhibit and making sure no one's touching anything or doing nefarious actions. And so doing that with another person, there's nothing to really pick up on. That's maybe
Right.
like an hour of training that you need to because I understand it's the way the schedule is set up is like you're bumping other people out of rotation for their lunch breaks and things like that. And so like after the first few days, like the first 2 or 3, I got a good feel for everything. And then there's another day shadowing, and then there was a day shadowing with this one woman who would just not stop talking all the time. And I'm just like, what's the polite way of like, you know what? I would prefer to just stand in silence.
You
Anyways,
tell
you're
you
saying
tell
that
you
you're
say
really
that.
happy and it's going well.
you tell her, hey, the only reason I've been standing here is because my shoe's been stuck in gum. And then she's like,
Oh,
huh, maybe I'll go get a tissue to get the gum off your shoe, right?
oh my
She
God.
walks away, and then you run because your shoe's not really stuck in gum.
I
Wait,
just
you
quit
weren't
my
stuck in
job.
gum that entire
I
time.
just leave. Genius. Game changing. That's your second breakthrough idea you've had this cast.
Dude,
It's incredible.
there's a lot of things locked up in this thing.
Oh, right in my eye. Oh, but no, I'm sorry. That was
How
rude.
many guides, like how many tours have you given so far?
Well, it's not really tours. It's just like, for example, my day today consisted of like, you don't really guide people through things. Like occasionally you'll be partnered with like a preschool group or like a high school group to watch them. I haven't gone through that yet. I'm not sure if I will, considering like I'm just like I'm this new. But it's mainly
So you're
like
right out of
today.
high school, so that'd be kind of weird supervising people your age.
Wow, that's great. Brandon. Thank you,
Jesus
Brandon.
Christ!
See that would qualify. We were talking about this
So mean.
pre-show, but that's savage. That is instead of the PC Gamer article that we were discussing.
I would have thought getting utterly wasted last week would be a good indicator that I'm above a certain age, but no, I'm going to carry that high school stigma.
So,
No,
and
but,
what I was leading up to by asking
Mhm.
about your new job is,
Right.
are you prepared to deliver to us your museum's curatorial narratives?
What?
Can you tell us what you tell people during work?
Yes, I can. Today.
All right, here.
I,
Okay, I'm a student, right? I don't want to be there. Okay, so I'm gonna start touching shit. Okay. Hey yo, look at this painting. I'm
Okay, if
touching
you
it.
touch something, I'm immediately
Okay.
coming up to you and saying,
Okay, you're coming up to
You
me.
sound-
Okay.
yes.
All right, come up. Go ahead.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Now, at first,
What's
I'm
up?
going to
What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What? You gonna stop me?
Why are you doing this to me?
I'm pushing you now.
Now I'm sprinting. I'm in full sprint
Okay.
away. I'm calling security. Signal
All right.
100. Alert. Lethal weapon on the premise.
Oh
I've
my
got
god!
a suspect in the clues gallery with several weapons who has been threatening all the guests. I don't know. He tried to take my clothes off. Basically, at this point, I'm just going to escalate the what they're anticipating, because anything that they're going to be prepared for is not going to be enough when they come up to hardball. But no, nothing crazy like that. Like today, I told somebody to turn their flash off. That was pretty much it. That was the single interaction.
Did they do it?
They did it. They did it.
Do it?
I told somebody to take the flash off, and the only other time I spoke to a guest other than hello, it's like, hello. At this time, the museum is now closed. Thank you for coming. It's like they're trying to stress to us that for some reason, it's like you don't talk to the people going to the museum. Like
because you don't want to be friends with them.
Yeah, it's like you want to be friendly, but you don't want to. They're here to see the art, not to, it's not like, fucking Family Video where you try to be their best friend.
You want to be passive versus active.
You want to be straight up aggressive, and then if they seem like they're nice people, then compliment them on like their shoes or something.
Boom.
Be like, hey, turn your flash off. I like your Jordans. They're nice.
Those are great shoes.
Yeah.
Right. But one thing I did yesterday is that one exhibit we have going on is like the museum is closing early because outside we have the whole park area set up with like 1 million Christmas lights, and it's so I went there with my family. I was able to go for free, and it was really cool there. But yeah, that was pretty much it. And they had like drinks there. The cocoa was $4, and if you wanted the cocoa spiked with cider, it was $9.
Wow! Oh my God!
This Mickey Mouse Museum bullshit.
Hold on, who is spiking cocoa with cider?
I don't know.
That's weird.
The Indianapolis Museum of Art is doing
God, you guys are all hipsters. It's terrible.
They had a Girl Scout cookie thing set up, and I walked up. They're like, "Hello."
There was Thin Mints, right?
No, it was.
That's not a Girl Scout cookie.
They didn't even have cookies. They said, "Hey, would you like the marshmallow experience?" And I said, "Yes, I would like the marshmallow experience."
Well, sounds like you took a gamble on that one.
Yeah, they gave me the tools to make a s'more.
Oh, and so it was just a s'more, and they just put a name on it.
Well, the marshmallow experience that could have meant a lot of things.
Marshmallow experience. I was like, what?
That's what I call it after like the date's done. I'm like, I just saw the chick. Hey, you want to come back on me for the marshmallow experience?
It does not come out like a marshmallow.
I suppose context is important.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the marshmallow. What if every time you do it was just a marshmallow? Just not. Oh my God.
So did you partake in any of the in any of these delights here?
Yes,
even though they were $4?
I got the cocoa, and I think because I was an employee, it was 2. So
wow,
that was good.
Already cashing in on those discounts.
Make it sweet bank.
Did you have to show them your badge or something? Were they like, "This is $4, please,"
no.
and you say, "Hey, I work here," and they're like,
"Oh no, I knew the
prove
person
it
who was
if you want
there,
your $2 off."
Do you know who the fuck I am? I am a gallery guide. I've worked here for 5 days. What, half off? So it was a fun night.
No, he winks and goes, "Hey, if I see you taking a flash picture, you're good in my book."
You're getting fucking tackled if you even glance at the Rembrandt bitch. That's an artist joke.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't get it.
Yeah, to be fair, you need a high level IQ to understand.
Yeah.
That joke. What's that pasta? But no. Anyways, speaking of marshmallow experience, what have we been eating this week?
Ooh,
I didn't get to go.
Nice segue.
I didn't get to go.
Oh yeah, Hardballer didn't go.
I didn't get to go. The guest didn't get to go. But it's fine,
Okay,
well, you've certainly been.
Could say, speaking of the marshmallow experience, Hardballer, what have you been doing?
Oh man.
I've been playing the Diablo 3 Season 12.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
I don't know if you know the doc here, but there's a section for what have we been playing. So if all you've been doing is playing games, generally you'd wait until that section to talk about it.
I thought that's what we were saying.
Well, now
What?
that now
No,
that, well, you know
sir,
what?
it's what we've
It's
been
it's all
doing.
it's busted up now. So why don't tell us about Diablo this season? Because I have been playing a lot of Diablo too, as it turns
You've
out.
been playing Diablo with me, Brandon.
Yeah,
Oh,
as it turns
I
out,
saw it.
Diablo is a pretty good game.
It's a pretty good game. Yeah, the season came. It's the power creep time, so that means all builds are basically viable this season. So
Okay.
you can jump in and just play, and you'll basically get to play the full range of the game and what everything it has to offer this season, with having no experience in it.
Yeah, this season seems to have several different options per class. Like all of the different sets seem to have decent builds associated with them. That being said, I've been playing a Demon Hunter this season, and the first set that you get for just completing the seasonal quests, I thought there was a good build associated with it, and so I was leaning into that. I was gearing up with this build, but I felt like I kind of hit a wall, and I wasn't able to go much higher. I was doing like Greater Rift, maybe 60, 70, something like that. And I couldn't get much higher. And so I decided to switch. I had really good gear, decided to switch to a different build with a whole different set, worse gear, and all of a sudden I was blowing through things. So there's still, I think, there are still definitely some very dominant builds compared to everything else. But I think it's a little bit better than it's been in past seasons.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I bought Diablo 3, but I still haven't gotten into it. I need to.
Dude, get into it. We can power level you in like under 10 minutes.
It's so much fun.
I bought it on PS4.
Oh, so you did it completely wrong.
Yes.
Oh, that's fine.
What are you doing?
I wanted
Who
to.
buys an
It
ARP?
looked like a good game
What
for couch
is wrong
co-op.
with you?
That's not at all what
It's-
it's a good game for.
I've played it couch co-op. It's really fun.
Who are you
How many
playing
hours?
with?
Yeah,
Like
really.
3 other dudes.
Oh my god,
It
you
was
can't
fun.
be saved.
I mean, I'm gonna buy it on PC also. Probably.
This is not going to make up for you buying it originally for a PlayStation.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's a lot of things wrong with that, and we can't get into it now, but
Oh, we're getting into it.
How
Pussy,
much
come
did
on.
you spend on it? 40?
yes, please.
No, 15.
Oh, it was only 15
So you don't
bucks?
even, do you not have the expansion?
No, it was just vanilla D3.
Oh my god.
It's like when I bought it, I knew I wasn't
You're
probably.
playing one.
Well, okay, listen.
The
You're,
bad
playing,
Diablo 3.
you're playing like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old
Okay,
version of the game.
Listen to me.
The reason I didn't buy the expansions on the PS4 version is because I knew I wasn't going to sink a bunch of time into it because I knew my KBMOD fellas played it on the PC, which is what I'm going to buy the expansions on once I buy it on PC, probably. But PS4 is just something, something chill to play because, like, I was
you're
like,
only
you know what?
5 years
dude.
late to the game.
You're literally. I can't. I'm actually stroking out at this. Like, you actually did that.
This is being grossly exaggerated that I spent $15 on Diablo 3 on PS4.
How many
Ultimate
hours did you
Evil
play it?
Edition.
How many hours did you play it?
I have played it for maybe 20 minutes as a monk, and then I quit the game because I was playing solo. And
Here's the only way that your purchasing decision can be justified for me is if,
oh my god,
is if you bought it because you were interested in the story of Diablo 3 and you just wanted to play through the story. Because if you've never played D3, the story is worth playing through like one time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's what you were in for, then $15 is a reasonable price for that product.
okay.
But you're completely you are going to completely miss out on what the current game is, which is like playing seasonal characters, like the seasons reset every few months.
Okay,
and
so
you have to own the expansions to even really participate in that.
well, it was the Ultimate Evil Edition. So, like, does that have? I assume that doesn't, because I don't have the Necromancer or anything like that.
You don't even have Crusader.
I have 4 classes. No, I have 6, I think. I don't remember. All I saw on the menu was just Necromancer locked. That's it. I think I have everything about that. Let's stop this because this is just a pointless loop we're going in. It's only going to end in just sadness
just
and
buy
anger.
Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls on the PC
Okay.
and come play with us.
All right.
You too,
okay.
Unity. I expect you there.
Yeah, I was just looking at it on BattleNet and try it for free. I'll have to give that a shot.
It's so much fun. It's I've
really
already
good.
sank this season. I've just
Yeah.
sank probably another 15 hours into it. Just it's so good for
Yeah.
like 15 or 20 hours every season.
So it's really
That
good.
sounds worth. Okay.
Yeah.
And we play every season. So a season lasts us. I think we have a big group that plays it, and it lasts 2 months, and then you get a month off, basically.
Yeah, I would say you get a few weekends out of it. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to spend a ton of time on it after maybe the next weekend, but it's just so much fun to do. You know, when they make all the class changes, they roll a bunch of changes into each season, and so I'll usually roll a brand new class and just give it a go. You know, in 20 hours, drop it in, and then kind of put it down and come back next season.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how. And basically, you get rewarded for doing the seasonal stuff. Like this season's rewards are actually wings for your character,
Ooh.
and portraits and cosmetic items and stuff like that.
I
So
like that.
there is rewards to doing the seasons and stuff like that, because normal Diablo, if you don't know what a season is, basically a season is if you've played off season is just like all your accounts are open and together. Season is starting from scratch.
You have to make a new character, but your progression is quite fast. So the non-seasonal characters, the grind is like a lot longer to eventually get to high levels. With seasonal characters, that grind is very fast. So you're gaining levels. I mean, literally in some cases, like when you start out, you can be gaining multiple levels per minute. But then even once you get into the Paragon levels, which are, you know, more or less infinite after you reach max level, you'll get multiple levels like per run. So it's fun because there's that constant sense of progression, and it's funny because like playing Diablo and then comparing it to Destiny, because they kind of are supposed to scratch that same itch in a way. Like it's such a stark comparison. They're in such stark contrast because Diablo, I feel like, manages that loot escalator so well, and Destiny, I feel like, manages it so poorly. Like I know Ying's been playing a ton of Destiny, and I'm curious if he's still been playing this week.
I have, yes.
But like I just get such a different feeling from the loot grind in Diablo than I do the loot grind in Destiny.
Well, in my opinion, it's like, so Destiny has like Diablo is like, it's an endless cycle of like you're gonna get stronger and stronger and stronger kind of thing, right? But it gets harder and harder and harder as you go up. Destiny feels like, to me, and Ying, you probably can comment on it. It just feels like at a point it's so hard to get stronger that you're at your peak of strongness for the content there is. Like Diablo, for no matter what the content is, like I can play for 1,500 hours on one character and still get stronger.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's interesting. And again, I can't draw the comparison because I have measurably zero experience with Diablo. But at least with Destiny, like, there is a hard cap on how strong your character is, and it's your light level. And if you're at 305 light, your character is comparable to basically any other character, barring like the couple of stats that you can build out and depending on what gear you want to use. But even then, the loot gear in Destiny is small enough that you can probably replicate anyone else's build if you really wanted to pretty easily, because you're just building your collection and you can get any piece of gear pretty easily. Like the only gear that's difficult to get sometimes is exotics. But even then, like if you get an exotic once, you have it on all of your characters infinitely. Like it's not quantifiably restricted in any sense.
Even if, like, say I get like a really good piece of gear, there's always like once you complete Greaterus or like the leaderboards in the seasons, it's like basically how you're the big dick competition. Once you complete a Greaterus 70, you get these things called primals that drop, and basically they're the best rolls on the gear, like max roll stats.
Okay,
they're perfect pieces of gear.
Yeah. And I think I could be wrong and I could be corrected, but so 100 legendaries is an ancient, and 100 ancients is a primal. So you have to pick up 100 pieces of ancient gear, and ancient gear is like better than normal. legendaries.
Yeah, so it's a really low drop rate, but I think with Diablo you can sink more and more time into it to slowly perfect your character. But I feel like the perfection, like a perfect character versus a really high level character, would be a huge difference in the greater rift level they could do. Whereas in Destiny, it's like I think it's just a lot more simplistic. There's not that you can't spend more time perfecting your character. Like at a certain point, there's just no reason to, because you've more or less capped out what how powerful you can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, and also I think in like Destiny, I know they don't want you to be able to power level each other. They don't want you, like, even though the story is a big part of Destiny, in Diablo it's really not. They don't care. Like, I think we power leveled Capstar today. It took us literally 10 minutes to get him to max level.
I should say it's not anymore, because the game has been out for 5 years now. So like the story is not what people come to Diablo for, but I think when it first came out, like there was a bigger emphasis on the story. But now, like, that it's the same story that's really been around more or less for 5 years now. So I do think it's worth playing through the story one time. It's worth like doing one 0 to 60 or 0 to 70 run without getting power leveled, because I think the story is it's not bad. It's not like incredible, but
I think it's me, Drake, and Justin before the beginning of the season. It's like we start on day 1 of the season and we don't get power leveled, and it takes us 5 hours to go from 1 to 70. And we know the fast way of doing it. And there's even easier ways if you like, because there's different classes, so you can build like a comp to even make it go even faster. But on average, it's like a 5-hour grind. So I think
if you've never played Diablo before, I think it's worth playing through the story once. But
that's
a really different game than what the Diablo seasons are. The Diablo season does not care at all about the story. You completely ignore it. It's basically they're just set pieces for the dungeons that you go through.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds like both of you have sank a lot of time into Diablo 3. But what if you sank your teeths into? Your teeth, not teeths. That's improper.
He was so close.
Yeah, it was.
Sank our multiple teeths into.
Multiple teeths.
It's
like Finding Nemo. Teeths? You have just like multiple.
No, teeth is teeth.
Teeth is the plural.
Teeth is the plural, and you're thinking of like either like no.
Like what's is it like moose and mooses or moose? It's just.
What have you eaten?
Oh, I had nice lasagna.
Oh.
Yeah, I was with some nice Italian rolls to make a wee sandwich.
Nice.
That sounds good. KD, I saw you had some cowboy spaghetti again.
Yeah.
What the fuck is cowboy spaghetti?
Cowboy spaghetti is it's spaghetti with a bunch of shit thrown in. And I asked about this. It's called cowboy spaghetti because it's like the idea is you just throw so much in there. It's like it's wild. It's crazy. Like, I don't know, a cowboy.
Like
that's
wild,
like the yeah. I
was thinking it was potentially called cowboy spaghetti because it's kind of spaghetti you might make if you were out camping or out like in the outdoors. You just kind of throw whatever you have in there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Kind of like whatever you have.
Yeah.
This actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It was.
What did you put in yours?
I'm trying to think. It was. Spaghetti.
Thanks.
The cheddar. Yeah, I had to get that one out of the way.
Spaghetti.
The formality. Yeah. And then I think there's like pastrami, pepperoni, I think sausage bits.
Ooh.
It was really tasty.
Sausages. Now this is weird. They give me really, really bad nightmares.
What?
Yeah. So if I eat, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's only if I eat like sausage, like the tiny sausage you get from breakfast or anything, like any sausage, the next night I will have like waking up crying nightmares.
Oh my god!
And I'm one of the people who can remember every one of his dreams, like he had in the night. So I will literally wake up terrified, and I don't know what it does. I don't know why. It's always been since I was a kid. So I'm actually perpetually afraid to eat sausages, and I do like the taste of them. It's not like I don't like them, but I'm afraid to eat them.
What about if you don't know you ate sausage? Is it actually the physical
it's
composition
literally
of sausage?
literally like if say like I found out like a burrito or something or like egg had a sausage in it. No matter what happened, like I will have a nightmare that night, and I'll wake up and I'll be like, "Shit, the fucking burrito had a sausage in it."
Oh, that is so bizarre. Like, I'm not trying to
really
be
weird.
disrespectful, but that is
Apparently, people have
so
a
weird.
lot. Like people correlate like fear with certain foods, and I apparently I do that with sausage, and that's what happens.
So you're trying to say that you're homophobic?
The fuck?
No, Sam, I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Jesus Christ!
I feel like you need to maybe take some of that up with your therapist.
Well, I mean, it's like everybody has like a fear of something, and mine is sausages.
I understood what
wow.
you said. I'm just saying I don't know that we have time to delve into that on this specific podcast.
Yeah, we gotta keep it
there could be a lot
we
to
could do the
unpack
sausage
there.
cast.
The sausage cast.
I had Hillary made some really good. It was like a breakfast dish. It was kind of egg hash, so it had like sausage, potatoes, eggs, kind of all mixed together. That was really good. Had that for breakfast yesterday, and she's currently making a bunch of stuff for like Thanksgiving week.
Oh yeah.
So should have hopefully some good examples for next week.
Yeah, I to go more about what I've been eating, I hit you up in that stream earlier to let you know that I had some T-bone steak from Denny's.
Yeah, let me ask
let's
you
talk
now that we're
about
here.
this,
Now that we're here in person,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we've discussed this before, and I've mentioned that like you shouldn't get a steak at Denny's. That's not what Denny's is there for.
Country
you
fried
decide-
steak is at Denny's.
Country
Country
fried steak is.
Are you saying specifically a T-bone steak
I'm
at
saying
Denny's?
I'm saying a steak where they have to ask you how you want it cooked.
Okay, I see.
Right?
I see.
Chicken
Where
fried
there's that
steak. Chicken fried steak. That's like a dish unto itself. There aren't.
Right.
You don't get to choose how it's cooked. It's just like it is what it is.
Okay.
But a T-bone or a ribeye or like whatever they serve, where they ask you, "Oh, how'd you like this cooked?" No.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
where where you stop.
That makes total sense. I asked for medium rare, and it was incredibly inconsistent. There were so many parts of it that were so rare. And other parts that were like so tough.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't ask them to like cook it more because it would just ruin it at that point. Like other parts just be ruined.
I mean, look,
I learned a valuable lesson.
Yeah, you did. I'm glad that you can come here and tell this cautionary tale because while I love Denny's, I am not going to tell you that everything at Denny's is the best. It's not.
Right.
Denny's does a lot of things well. Steak is not one of them. Don't go there for steak. Go there for breakfast foods.
You had some incredible wordplay earlier. Like I was shocked. It was I brought up as a counterpoint that with Denny's, it's America's diner. And I mean, I don't know if you want to repeat the glory that you said.
I forget what I said.
You said America. It's like it's America's diner. Like so, you had the freedom to pick that steak, but just because you have the freedom to get that steak, you don't have the freedom to make that mistake. I was like, damn, that hit my chest.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the hard part about being American. Sometimes is you have too much freedom.
Right, exactly. Sometimes communism, I think about it, and it would just be beneficial in every way.
No.
I'm just
it's not
kidding.
a statement you shouldn't say.
But I should say that I did for dinner tonight have my dad made country fried steak, and it was incredible.
Oh,
it was just
fantastic.
Fantastic. Oh
why,
yeah,
why even go to Denny's if your family is capable of cooking country fried steak themselves? Country fried steak and eggs at home can't be beat.
I don't know if I could convince him to do it every single night, but
you should just pay him.
A treat.
You know, I should pay him for it.
Just pay him.
But other than that, like just to go more into, because I want to properly shout him out there. I mean, I'm not going to dwell on it for too long, but it was like country fried steak was really good. Monday we had this like shrimp and rice and it was like shrimp, rice, and broccoli dish that was really good. And then we had this kind of like beef and rice yesterday where the sauce was just dynamite. But
Dynamite!
But yeah, that's
Dynamite!
it sounds anime.
Dynamite! Oh my god!
All right. Anyone else want to share?
Any interesting dishes this week?
I wouldn't say necessarily interesting, but I have been trying to be a little more adventurous to some of the restaurants that are in my city. And there was one that I had been told about a couple of times, and I was always hesitant to try it out because, boy, it just doesn't look good from the outside. It looks like greasy fluorescent lighting. It's like everything about it said to me, I was like, I really shouldn't go in there. But a couple of people have said, like, no, really, like, give it a shot. It's really, really good, and I'm really glad that I did, because it's a pita restaurant, or it's like a pita shop or whatever, and it's owned by a Greek family that's been in the city for decades now, and they made me maybe the best pita I have ever had in my life. I ordered this. It was like I was recommended to get the chicken Caesar pita that they make, and the way that they do it was I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but when I ordered it, the guy goes, okay, no problem. They're really friendly. He goes into the back and pulls out just a chicken breast, like you would see at a grocery store, which to me was already like, okay, this is a really good start. And he cooks the chicken breast right there on the stovetop, and is like making everything fresh right there. It was like the process was happening right in front of me. I wasn't ready for that kind of thing. And for how, like, I don't say like downtrodden, but it's the physical appearance of the restaurant does not suggest that the food would be so well done.
Really?
Yeah. And it was, I mean, I have to go back there now all the time. They were such friendly people. Their food was so good. It was very, very, very fresh. It has ruined anywhere else that I can get like a chicken Caesar wrap. Which of course there are some like cafes around that have very good coffee, but no, like anytime I order like anything chicken Caesar from them, I won't enjoy it anymore because this little restaurant has ruined it for me. But that was about it. So like I'm hoping that maybe I'll have more stories as I try to like branch out and try these different restaurants that I probably walk by a lot but never actually thought to stop into.
Have you ever wondered, right? And here's a crazy thought. You know how you go into certain restaurants, like seafood restaurants, and you pick your lobster that you want to eat? How come you can't do that with chickens? How come we are so...
Well, this week in KBMOD...
Yeah, let's... Wow.
We've had...
Yeah, anything with that.
Okay.
Fuck the order. Fuck the doc. Just get us away from that answer.
We're striking through these things. We're done with these sections.
Yeah, we're done with those.
We did have some stuff going on in KBMOD. We got to keep it rolling. We got a lot of news to talk about. It's been a busy week. All right. So we did have an article go up on KBMOD this week. We had a Destiny 2 PC review from Julian, aka Surus6. He's played quite a bit of Destiny 2, and he also had experience with the first one. So he kind of does some comparisons between the two in his video. Really, really good video, and he gives you, kind of some breakdown of what he thinks is good, what he thinks is bad. So go check that out. It's up on the website and on our YouTube channel, and toss it a like if you enjoyed that video. But into the news.
Yeah, Cyrus always kills it with his content he does.
Yeah, his
really
his like the video is really, really well produced. He spent, I mean, I don't know how long he spent on it, but like it's a really good looking video. I was really impressed. So props to him, and definitely check out that channel. Like I said, on KBMOD.com or on our YouTube channel, and let him know what you think. So we're gonna hop into the news real quick. You would think that things would kind of slow down around the holidays, but I feel like a particular topic sort of dominated this week, and so there wasn't that much real news, perhaps, but there was still news, and a lot of it was like community fervor, I would say.
Right.
So this, I feel like if you're in the gaming community this week, you would have seen a lot of the consternation about EA and microtransactions and loot boxes. This is like a really hot topic right now, and I think only gets hotter because of stuff like this. So let's start with the mild news of the week.
Yeah.
Need for Speed Payback had a progression system, and that's an EA game, of course. Need for Speed, an EA property.
Yeah, it had something going on with like you built your car like traits through like trading cards, and of course you got the trading cards through loot boxes. So typical EA fare.
Yeah, and so so there was some community feedback, as of course there is in this day and age.
Right.
There were some Reddit threads, of all the different places that people give their feedback, Twitter and Reddit and places like that. So a couple days ago,
change.org polls.
Oh yeah, change.org petitions as far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
And so EA came out a couple days ago and made some changes to the system.
That is crazy to me.
Unsurprisingly, as will come to be a theme this week, they mention here in this post that they increased the rep that you get for taking part in events. Crates now reward increased rep. Competing against a roaming racer. I don't even know what some of these terms are, but you get the gist. They basically, like across the board, seem to up the number of points or rep. They use the terms rep and bank, which mean nothing to me, but I guess if you play Need for Speed, that would mean something to you. So they basically they tuned the system, this loot box system, to be more forgiving. You earn more when you're playing. So that's a good, I guess, a good outcome. But one can't help but be surprised that happened, because the real news from this week, I feel like, was Star Wars Battlefront 2. Before it even came out, okay, it was only open to pre-orders. So I think pre-orders got early access to the game, which I believe released for real like this past Friday.
Yeah, the 18th.
Yeah. So the game wasn't even technically out, but people were, pre-orders were playing it, and people noticed that it took a lot of grinding to unlock new characters. And so the famous example here was like Darth Vader cost 60,000 credits, and these other characters like, I don't know, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, Palpatine, Skywalker. Like basically, it sounds like they're all of these different characters you can play in Battlefront 2, but you have to unlock them. I've heard there's like a bunch of different crazy loot box type stuff in Battlefront, but this was like the thing that really got people's attention, was how many credits it takes to unlock these characters. And I feel like when people are buying a Star Wars game, a lot of them are buying it for that feeling of like playing as Darth Vader or playing as Luke Skywalker. Like they're buying it for these set pieces. And so locking those behind either a payment or like a lot of grinding, yeah, probably not a great experience. So this is kind of getting some traction on Twitter and on Reddit. People are like kind of upset. So this is the crazy thing to me. All right, so of course there's like a Reddit post on the the Star Wars Battlefront subreddit. This post has 152,000 upvotes. Now just let that sink in. The Star Wars Battlefront subreddit has a post with 152,000 upvotes.
Right.
And part of the reason for that is that the EA community team, which is like a EA corporate account, responded, and the title of this post was, "Seriously, I paid $80 to have Vader locked?" The question mark. So it was complaining about these, this grinding for credits. The EA community team Reddit account responds in what is now just the most infinite, the most infamous like decision I feel like for a game company to make, to respond in a thread like this. And I'm just gonna I wanna read some of it verbatim, just so that we can get a sense of of what we're dealing with here.
Absolutely.
This is from EA Community Team subreddit or Reddit account.
My God.
Responding to this, they say, the intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per-player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as soon and as often as we can. Now, this is in response to this post where, he's talking about, basically everyone in the post talking about how long it would take in-game to earn enough credits to unlock Darth Vader.
What a non-answer.
And so
which, for reference, is about calculated 40 hours of game time.
Right. It was something ludicrous per character.
Yeah. Right.
This post now has the honor of being the most downvoted post in Reddit history.
For good reason, yeah. It's outrageous.
Negative 675,000 points as of the time of this recording.
Oh my God!
I think while this was all going on, this hit 450 or something. So this,
holy shit!
I'm amazed that this became the most downvoted post in Reddit history. That is a real honor,
right?
And for all the wrong reasons, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the most bland corporate response they could have given.
Yeah.
And exactly. And so part of me is kind of glad that Reddit here is actually seems to have made a difference. People sort of with each downvote, they're rejecting the this sort of a company talking to you and trying to assuage your fears with this constantly listening talk, and basically saying, we're looking at data, we appreciate your feedback, and we're constantly monitoring. Every company says that, and this is completely tone deaf to the actual problem, which is you're not going to grind 40 hours to unlock Darth Vader. That's ridiculous. Exactly. That doesn't give you a sense of pride and accomplishment. That's a joke. So that is sort of,
and plus the star cards, they even make them apparently good that you can also unlock.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that the heroes are only one unlock system in the game. There are other unlock systems that aren't even probably worth getting into here.
I just can't.
But so then seeing this post and seeing all of the feedback here, almost universally negative. Before the game even launched, they came out and put out a response, an official response after this Reddit post, and they reduced all of the hero costs by 75%. I am just at a loss for how they could make such a. There's either one of two things that happened. I feel either if you want to believe, you want to believe in your heart of hearts that the people at EA were trying to make the best game they could, then there's one explanation here where maybe they really just got the data wrong. Maybe they just actually completely missed the mark. They made bad assumptions or something, right? And that turned into the game that you saw before the real launch, but after pre-orders open. The other, potentially more realistic explanation is that they knew exactly what they were doing and wanted to kind of curb people into buying the credits outright, because you can pay for the pay for loot boxes and get credits that way instead of in game. Having to reducing them to 75, or reducing them by 75% across the board is basically like, have we even seen a game do that before release?
Yeah,
I
can't
think of
believe
an example.
Right. It's just strange that like this amount of like just bullying to the developer. I mean, I know I'm not saying it's not warranted.
Are you talking about from the player base, or are you talking about?
Yeah, from the player base to the developer. Like found again, it's warranted. But no, let me finish. What I'm trying to say is like you normally don't see a developer make a like especially EA, like a AAA dev like this, make the change. Because,
but is it DICE's developer, EA's publisher? Am I correct?
Well, right. I mean, but I don't think that DICE really has a say in whether or not their microtransactions go through. I think
what
that's
I'm
more
saying
EA.
is like, because I know like DICE, like EA came out with that statement, right, saying that we put this in because of like the data we found during the beta and stuff like that. But then, how come EA's Twitter account didn't take the blame for taking that out? You know what I mean? It's like it's pushing. It's like EA, the publisher. I don't think DICE made the intent of like saying, "Hey, you know what our game needs that we've been working on for months and made it look gorgeous." I don't think it made.
Well,
yeah,
and
I don't think DICE is getting any.
That's the whole point of this tension, though.
Yeah,
is that
DICE had about as much in their microtransactions as the devs of Dead Space 3 did. How they had their game fucking ruined.
Yeah, and DICE is part of EA, so like it's unfortunately that's the problem is you don't know if it's the choice that the devs actually made or if that is a sort of a choice being forced upon them by EA because they want to make more money. And we don't know. Yeah. Like we don't know what the internal conversations are.
Pretty sure it's EA. I mean, I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that EA is the one that made this.
Big Brother has his hand into that.
Yeah. Yeah, but you are right. We don't know. We're for 100% sure.
I just can't put myself in like as a developer in the shoes of one of them and going, you know what our game needs that we've been working on for a year? Microtransactions to make it completely unbalanced. Like, I'm all for, and this is coming from me, all for microtransactions in video games. I love it. I think one, it shows you can do cosmetics. I think it's a good way to support development of video games, and keep it going. But I don't support microtransactions in a $60 video game in a full price AAA title. I don't think it's really necessary because it's a full price video game. But if you're going to put it in there, only leave it as cosmetics.
Exactly.
Only leave it as cosmetics. You do anything to change the gameplay of the game with real life money, you're destroying the game itself. Yes.
Yeah,
you're destroying the game itself.
I think that's generally a line that I agree with. Like cosmetic microtransactions, I generally have no problem with. I think the ones we see from EA are definitely more suspect when you can sort of basically buy your way around having to progress in game. I think that makes some of those perverse incentives where you don't know if it's really the developer's choice to make a grind, like grinding for Darth Vader. Because you always have that in the back of your mind. You're thinking, did they only do this because they want me to just pay money because they know that I could just pay a few bucks and get it instantly, and so you lose the trust of your player base like that.
Like I was talking to a few people, and like people were blaming Overwatch for this whole like explosion of like loot box crave, and I think that's completely wrong because like if you look at it, like CS:GO started it and then TF2 also had it, but like if you look at the pattern of all them games, they all did it fair enough to where it was like CS:GO for me, that they kind of like soiled the whole unboxing thing when they started like doing like stat track music boxes. Like that was too much for me. I'm like, okay, now you're just milking it. Like, but like I've also played Heroes of the Storm, which has loot boxes that every level they give you a free one, and I think Overwatch does the same thing. But EA, from watching it, they were plastering like, "Hey, buy a loot box," and I think Battlefield 1 did the same exact thing, where it was like, it's on their screen, like, "Hey, get a loot box here." Like, I just don't like.
Well, different companies approach it with different levels of tact, and I think Blizzard has generally done microtransactions, I think, in a reasonably smart and player-friendly way, EA
in the auction
has
house.
not, frankly. Well, and yeah, I mean, Blizzard.
They had their mistakes, yeah.
Right, Blizzard. I'm not saying Blizzard has been perfect. They have definitely made mistakes. But in the year 2017, I feel like Blizzard is definitely coming out with more player-friendly systems where you don't feel like you're getting milked. And I agree with you regarding Overwatch. It's all cosmetic stuff. It's stuff that doesn't affect the gameplay. And me personally, when I play Overwatch, I don't feel a need to buy any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I think the problems with something like Battlefront 2 are a lot more severe because the game, the game is materially altered by the fact that people can pay for some of these things.
Yeah, I think it was a Total Biscuit thing of like looking at the star cards, and one of the star cards you can get for like, because they have different levels or something like that, and one of them is like a 50% decrease in damage taken by rockets that hit your, like on Boba Fett. Like if you get hit with a rocket, you get 50% damage, and the level 3 card is literally 100% damage decrease. So basically, if you can just buy the level 3 card, you're invulnerable compared to someone who has to grind for that card, and the prices go up and up and up.
Yeah, I think it's really dangerous when you put stuff like that in games where anything you put in a game where you can pay and it affects something in the game is dicey territory. But EA decided to do that, and so this is one time where the community really came out, and the bigger question here, I think long term, is does this hurt the game's sales? Does EA actually learn anything from this? And the jury's still out on that. However, again, after they reduced the hero costs here, they also, we're not done yet, they also suspended microtransactions in the game. So they're coming back. They didn't say they're removing them entirely, but they did stop selling the premium currency, which is called crystals. They stopped selling the premium currency before the game actually officially launched. So, I think, I don't know what, like if you're EA, I don't know that you can, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right, whatever you do now, you'll be criticized either way. I do think there is some. I guess you have to give them some slight amount of credit. Removing microtransactions entirely is not going to net you any more money than you would have made otherwise. So you kind of have to assume that maybe they're taking some of this stuff seriously. But wow, I am amazed at just how bad you can bungle a launch when something that really shouldn't even be a core part of the game ends up stealing the spotlight.
Right. I just don't think the mentality of, like, even it's a common practice nowadays to do it. Like $60 game, you get half the game, then you got to buy the passes, the deluxe edition or the premium edition for what? That's going to cost you another probably $60, maybe $100 for the entire thing, and then they're going to add microtransactions on top of it, and then they're going to get shit for that. Take it out, you're still. Is it going to affect sales? Probably not. I don't. People that are going to buy Battlefront are going to buy Battlefront for Battlefront. They're going to buy it for the game it is, not the publicity that's behind it. Like, nothing here obviously changes, like, made the game bad per se, but it just made it feel wrong to buy.
It's
in my opinion, I don't want to play it.
Right. I think I feel bad for a lot of the people that work on the game. Because the unfortunate part here is that there are a great many people who worked on this game who had no say in this system at all, but they're now having to adjust plans and change. I'm sure like the marketing team, a lot of people who have just no say in any of the actual core pieces of the game. They're probably all having to work longer hours and change their strategy and stuff because this has now become the story with Battlefront 2. And it's not about the game's quality. It's not about anything else. It's also being
overshadowed of the game itself because, like, no one's talking about how, like that game actually looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. I think it's probably one of the best looking games I've seen as of right now. But no one's talking about that. Like, and when I feel bad for, like as you said, Brandon, the other people who worked on, like, the artists, like, they should get more credit than credit's due because that game looks actually awesome.
Yeah.
It's just getting overshadowed by this like money grubbing, milking our fan base for nothing. You know what I mean? Just to fill our pockets until next year.
Yeah.
You know, until we can pump out another title. Which is, I really do wish this mentality of video games, of yearly base release video games genres, just stopped.
Well,
And this just took a chill pill for a second.
I agree with you, but keep in mind that we are talking about the Star Wars franchise here. I think if any franchise is guilty of creating maybe unnecessary franchises and things to make more money, boy, the Star Wars franchise and extended universe sure has a lot of stuff out there. But
this
anyway,
goes with the Call of Duty series as well, I feel.
That's true, but Call of Duty, that's the thing.
For a second.
That's the thing. Call of Duty has like a lineage that this game doesn't, and I feel like Call of Duty can make smaller changes over time and sort of test them with their users. I think if you look at like Battlefront 2 compared to Battlefront 1, and now I didn't really play much Battlefront 1, but I don't recall it having all this like microtransaction stuff. It may have had something here and there, but I don't think it had anywhere near the level of microtransactions this game does. So when you make such drastic changes from one game to the next in the Battlefront series, like it looks disjointed to me. It looks like, you're right, it looks like a money grab.
Really, it didn't have legs to really stand on, because I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the first one of our new generation. I'm not talking about the old ones, but the previous one to this one, that had negative reviews, if I remember correctly. Like, people said it was really boring. There was not much substance to the game because, one, it didn't have a single player. It was just straight multiplayer, and it they didn't have many maps and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember some definitely commentary on the game itself.
They are literally just trying to bury this like franchise now with this.
Yeah, it's a real shame that there are so many like things that have happened this week detracting from the game itself. The game might not even be that good, but you would never even know, because there's just outrage over the fact that it's like they're trying to get away with something. And I think the backpedaling, if anything, is not necessarily a bad thing, but it looks like they got their hand caught in the cookie jar, you know. And when you make such drastic changes before the game even launches, I think it sends a signal that you're scared that maybe the players have finally caught on to your grand plan. And so feeding into that narrative, some more juice to go along with this, the Wall Street Journal put out an article later in the week, a couple days ago, that says, and I don't know if these claims have been substantiated, but the Wall Street Journal, generally I would say is a fairly reputable source. EA apparently pulled the microtransactions from Battlefront 2, potentially because of influence from Disney. So Disney has the Star Wars license, and it sounds like they were hearing a lot of negative. Basically, the what they were hearing about their game, their Star Wars game, was being associated with all of this microtransaction stuff, and like all of these negative sentiments. And apparently apparently some of these executives from Disney sent a message to EA. Now, we don't know if that's like actually the cause of some of these backtrackings, but it looks it looks not great from all sides. It's not a good look, and I feel like with Disney potentially also being sort of sensitive to this idea of like, Star Wars wants to be kid friendly, and now this whole controversy is around loot boxes, and loot boxes, like there's controversy around, are loot boxes gambling? Like, Disney and gambling, those are not, like Disney does not want to be in the same sentence as the word gambling.
I mean, Disney is one of those like massive media bodies nowadays too, that they have seriously regimented their image. I mean, they protect their brand like no one else. And so this is, I mean, if I was in EA's position and Disney was,
that's even bigger brother telling you what to do.
That would be terrifying. Yeah. Like they crank out like assembly line like magic, essentially. And this is EA this is EA messing with that. And like that is like the scariest thing I think that you could possibly damage with Disney.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be an eight. Like EA tried to like slip one in there, like, hey, we're gonna make a few bucks on here, and Disney was like, what are you doing? Like you're really screwing us alone,
Yeah.
like not just you.
It's kind of you know, when dad admonishes you, you know, and you just it's sort of like I imagine the conversation is kind of like, we're not telling you to make changes, I'm just disappointed in you. And then you're like, oh man, how can I make dad not disappointed in me? And so you go make a bunch of changes before the game launches. Yeah, so just a kind of a wild week with ultimately, I feel like what is kind of like not a massive game in the grand scheme of things, like for the gaming community. Like I was kind of surprised that this got so much traction, only because I feel like Battlefront 2 is like, it's kind of a known quantity. Like if you really love Star Wars, sure, pick it up, but it's not going to move the needle for a lot of core gamers. But man, the fact that it got so much attention on Reddit, and then they've just been constantly backtracking. It's just a really interesting, like, another case study in what like you have to be super careful with managing the expectations of your customers for these games. And and I mean,
do not treat your fans as dollar signs.
Yeah, I think the fact that like they had a beta, I think that's maybe the part where I personally feel like there was probably some greed in the picture. When you have a beta, that's your chance to gather the data and tell you what you really want to hone in your progression system. The fact that these, like, all of these values were after their beta and right before their game was going to launch, that tells me that they knew what they were doing.
But that also comes down to the arguments of, like, again, like, are betas even betas anymore? They just feel like demos. You know what I mean? Like, we need to actually start using betas as betas and what they are, like, to test our games.
True, but I mean, like, I'm sure that they are using the beta to gather data, even if it's not if it's still like, yeah, it's sort of for publicity. It's like it's not necessarily true betas like we used to have back in the day, but you can still get a lot of great data on just how players are interacting with the game. You could get data on which classes are they playing. Like they said, they said in their Reddit comment, they were looking at per player credit earn rates. That's like that looks to me like EA jargon. Per player credit earn rates. That's like that's a particular thing that they refer to internally. And so they're looking at that and saying, what do we want the target per player credit earn rate to be? And so you have to guess that, like, a company as big as EA and a team like on this game, they would have been looking at the data and making all of these decisions based on what they were seeing from the data. Did they think players were earning too quickly or too slowly? And I'm kind of amazed they got it as wrong as they did. But I think it'll be interesting to see if they, like, what they actually continue to tweak after the angry mob dies down. Because that's what everyone's scared of, right? When they halt microtransactions, all the replies in the the Twitter threads and stuff are like, yeah, but they're coming back. They're hoodwinking you again because they're coming back. They're not actually going to change anything. I think everyone's worried there is this conspiracy theory, with EA in particular. But this is a great chance for us to just espouse the common theme here is vote with your wallet. Like, just don't buy these games.
Definitely.
I wasn't gonna buy Battlefront 2, but I'm definitely not gonna buy it now. Like, I have no desire to interact with a system where I have to put in many hours to get some of these rewards, or I could just buy pay more into the game. That's not an experience I'm looking for. So I'm not gonna make angry comments about it. I'm not gonna post about it. I'm just not gonna buy the game because I don't really care that much about the game.
You don't need to send death threats to the developers.
Well, we shouldn't even dignify, like, people sending death threats have mental problems.
Yes.
Like, don't ever send death threats to anyone for any reason. But yes, I would say in general, don't harass the people making the game, because you don't actually know if it was their decision. Like if those people, the people making the game, the way that like they can interact with this, the way that they can influence things, or if they don't agree with what the company's doing, they can leave. Right? EA runs on people. So we can vote with our wallets. EA employees can vote with their freedom to go work somewhere else. But ultimately, I think this stuff will change if they can't make back what they need to. And we'll see if Battlefront 2 actually, if they get the message long term. I think the worry is that they change Battlefront 2, but then whatever, Battlefront 3 or something, they do the same thing again. But ultimately, just don't reward companies like that with your money. There are so many good games. Have you heard of Diablo? You can pay $40 for Diablo and get many hours of entertainment for one price. There's nothing more to pay. Anyway, anyone have? I feel like I talked a lot in that section. Anyone have thoughts on this whole thing, the Disney interaction, Battlefront 2?
I'm just like I'm tired of like hearing about like shit like this. Like I just wish like we would just chill out for a little bit with these with microtransactions. And if we're gonna do it, just do it right. You know what I mean? But if you want to put microtransactions in your game, do it right. But just chill. Make a game, make it nice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like your game doesn't need to be $60 with paid DLC, with microtransactions, and with a Founders Edition and all that shit. It doesn't need that. Just make a game. Just make a game, and make it how you want to make it.
Can someone put that on the billboard? Just in the words of Hardballer, make a game, make it nice.
Just like, shit, that's all you need
Those are words to live by as a game dev. Like that's some solid direction. You cannot go wrong.
I'm buying Diablo merchandise right now.
Oh my fucking god. How
Dude,
much? Are there jorts in Diablo?
No, they're a really cool hoodie, dude. And it's really annoying because they only run in small. Like, how can you only run in small in America?
Oh, I thought you meant like in-game items.
No, dude, no. I mean, like,
that Battlefront news was like sort of the overarching conversation, but there was more stuff that happened this week. We'll hop into the quick hits section. This one was like tangentially related to this Battlefront 2 stuff, but is like mildly interesting. The Belgian Gaming Commission is investigating loot boxes, I guess specifically in Battlefront 2 and Overwatch, but I probably maybe they're referencing other games as well in their investigation. But they're investigating whether or not those are should be branded as gambling. This is after several bodies in the games industry said that they're not gambling, like the ESRB and PEGI and like the different ratings boards in the US and Europe. But Belgium is not part of that, so Belgium is looking into that apparently, and I think the Netherlands is also looking into it. So
there's a lot going on over there.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Interesting times when different regulatory bodies in countries are kind of approaching this idea of loot boxes and gambling. And I think it should be worrisome when like governments get involved in games, because I feel like generally that's not ended well for the areas where governments do get involved. Like you have Australia, and Australia has like these weird laws around violent games. Like you generally don't want the government getting involved with games if you can help it. So it sort of behooves the industry to self-regulate. And this loot box stuff, I don't know that we need to get too far into it because there are a lot of different viewpoints, but that like the loot box stuff, there is a small aspect of it that kind of borders on gambling.
Yeah, but you're always getting something.
Right. I understand that. It's a nuanced issue, but it is definitely closer to gambling than games have ever been. And and I think feeds some of the same tendencies that gambling does. So it's it's sort of it's attention that I think games in general doesn't want. But you have a few examples where countries are going to start looking into this stuff, and man, it would be wild to see countries come in and start regulating gaming loot boxes as gambling. Like if one or two of these countries in Europe says that loot boxes are gambling, that could really have some weird implications for the industry at large. So, I don't know. What do you guys think about?
What would they have to do? Like, say, like, would they outlaw the game or that segment of the game?
I don't think we know. It's not
Because I
something
don't think
that's
it's
really
ever
come up
happened,
before.
right?
I think it's basically just depends on whether. I imagine if they deemed it gambling, it just means that the governments in these areas would have jurisdiction over specific things, right? Gambling in basically everywhere is highly regulated, and so you can there are certain rules when it comes to gambling, and potentially. I'm not sure of all of the laws, but it may come down to things like the government can, if it's like, let's say, a slot machine, like those have to follow specific rules regarding how the numbers get randomly generated and stuff. So it may, if loot boxes were deemed as gambling, that may mean that that game developers would have to submit something to the government to like prove that their loot boxes were fair rolls or something like that.
Okay.
Which would be, that would be an additional piece of regulation that definitely does not exist today and could have some interesting consequences.
Yeah.
You don't care. And you're going to keep buying loot boxes, aren't you?
My whole thing is like, I just don't
call him out.
I don't see them as I honestly don't see them as gambling. I just see them as like, I want a cosmetic, like I just want a cosmetic in a video game. I don't.
It's gambling.
But how?
Is that you have a percentage to get either worthless or incredible?
But you're always going to get something. You're always paying for something. Doesn't matter if it's like it doesn't matter if it's
on the quality of what you're getting.
I never go into a loot box and saying, "Hey, I really want this great item." I'm just going to buy it. Like some boxes don't like. What in Overwatch does it show you what you're going to get?
Because no, what you're going to get. Like,
no, I don't know all the skins that are in the boxes. Sometimes, like the only game that I know that does that is CS:GO. That CS:GO shows you what's in their box.
I think Overwatch, it's
Overwatch shows you the
legendary
ones, right?
It's not there's not a one-to-one relationship with actual real money gambling and loot boxes. However,
But this is what it's being correlated as, right? It's being correlated as like, this is gambling, that's gambling. Me going to a casino is the same thing as me sitting in my computer unboxing like.
Hardballer, why are you buying loot cases if you're not hoping for rare items? Do you buy them like expecting like commons and you're happy with that purchase?
Well, in some games you get rewarded for getting commons and duplicates, just like Overwatch and all that stuff. Sometimes, I'm going back to HOTS. I know I'm probably the only person that here plays HOTS, but in HOTS, to buy skins in the game, you have to get shards, and shards come from getting duplicates in boxes, and that's the only way to get shards. So you can just buy the skins outright, or you can roll in the box.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. Like the ESRB and PEGI and other regulatory boards have agreed with your general assertion that loot boxes are not gambling. But I think where the nuance comes in is the fact that like children aren't allowed in a casino, right? You can't sit down at a poker table or blackjack table as a child, right? Gambling is highly regulated, and you have to be a certain age. There's especially in the US, like there's signage all over the place about gambling addiction, right? So it's like people know that gambling addiction's a real thing, that you have to be a certain age to even try it. I think the difference here is we're not like people aren't saying that gambling and loot boxes are the exact same thing, but loot boxes are available to children, and that's like a really different conversation, because children don't understand what they're getting addicted to. They don't understand like we know a lot of things
But
about.
isn't that why we have a rating system in the first place so kids that like?
But they're not
what
rating
is
the
what
loot
is-
boxes. They're rating.
But they're
the
rating the
game.
games for the kids to be playing.
That's not. So that is not currently the way the rating system works. The rating system generally, it rates the content of the game. But
Yeah,
you'll notice that that like on all the games it'll say something like multiplayer experience, not rated or something. They're rating the content.
Yeah.
They're not rating the loot boxes or the online systems. So that becomes a different conversation where the game might have content that is suitable for like teenagers or for everyone, but they're not looking at the systems and saying, do we think that this system is not suitable for children of a certain age? And that's where I think it just gets complex for all the reasons you brought up.
Then could we have like, instead of like labeling this as a gambling or anything like that, couldn't they just do the same thing as like that? Like maybe if there is like a system like that, like maybe like in-game store not suitable for younger kids or some shit like that.
I could see them doing something like for example, the Google Play Store does, where every single app that has microtransactions says that there are in-app purchases, or like something along those lines.
Like a
but
warning
more
ahead of time, right?
Sorry.
Like a warning ahead of time, right?
Yeah, pretty like a disclaimer. Yeah, it's just not necessarily like saying strictly loot boxes, but saying that you have the option of spending real world money. They don't clarify.
Yeah, I think
there's chance involved,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, I feel like the direction we're headed, that might need to be introduced.
Right. There's like a bigger conversation because I feel like mobile games are some of the biggest offenders of this kind of loot box randomness behavior. So we're talking about it with kind of the core games that we focus on, but mobile games have this stuff in spades, and I think it's like there's a larger conversation to be had. It's not just like loot boxes in this one game. I think it's the whole ecosystem. It's like
did you guys see it was there's a video on YouTube you can search up. It's this Australian kid, and he's 18 years old, and he's talking about like CS:GO or something like that. And he's talking about like gambling his skins in CS:GO, saying he didn't know what he was doing and he didn't know this was real life money. Now, I don't know. I've been 18 and I've also played CS:GO and done the gambling sites on CS:GO. I knew exactly what I was doing.
Right.
I feel like
not everyone does though, and that's the like that is why this issue is so complex, because you have one particular experience, like you at 18, you at 18 maybe understood it, but the gambling age here, like here in the US, is 21, and so like even though you are an adult at 18, the US doesn't think that you're mature enough to gamble, and you can disagree or agree with that, but it's like that's a contested issue. I think this issue, like, I think has not even come to a head yet, but I think it will, because there definitely are, I feel like if you're growing up right now, like let's say you're 12 or 13 today, and you just grow up with games sort of that have these systems in them, you maybe aren't like your brain is not fully developed to where you can understand all the nuance that like we're discussing here about these systems. You just think that's how games are, and like, hey, let me put my credit card information because I like this game, I want to play this game, and that means that I've got to spend $10 every week to like keep getting the thing that I want. And that sounds stupid to us because we're adults, but for kids, like I don't know what that might do to a kid's brain if the games they really like have these systems, and they're not old enough to understand like how to manage those systems. Like they get, that's how gambling addiction is. Like I don't have gambling addiction. I don't know what that feels like, but it's a real thing. People have it. And like there's a reason that there's like a lot of laws around gambling. So anyway, I feel like it's a very interesting issue with a lot of viewpoints.
I can see where you're going, because because I think it was like Cantu just put it in the chat. It's kind of like the COD Point thing, where it was like when I was younger and Call of Duty was like really popular, you would always go run to the store and you just buy like a 6-pack of Mountain Dew or the Doritos and get the code inside. not because you were thirsty, just because it gave you things in game.
With that double XP, baby.
Yeah, it used it as a marketing tool, and as a kid, you don't know it, but you're just a pawn in the conglomerate scheme.
Right. And so I think, it's one thing to have that tied to a case of Mountain Dew where like you probably got to go ask your mom, hey, can we go to the store and get this Mountain Dew? And your mom is like, you're not going to drink Mountain Dew. That stuff's terrible for you. And you're like, but I have to get this thing in game. And then your parents are involved at that point, and they can decide if that's something you should or shouldn't have. But I think when it's just in the game, I mean, I guess it can all come back to parenting, right? You should just you need to be an active parent in your child's life, but it's different if it's just It's different if it's just like if it's a Steam transaction or an Apple Store transaction or something where like your credit card information might be stored or something, and it's not like your parents are involved in every explicit choice.
Yeah.
It's just it's really it will be interesting to see where this goes, because I feel like we haven't heard the last of like bad ideas around loot boxes and children, like its effect on children. If Disney is coming in and getting upset because their brand is associated with gambling around this loot box scandal, that tells me that I think we haven't heard the last of this issue.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for as long as games are $60, it's just going to get worse and worse, because that's I feel like one of the main causes of this microtransaction apocalypse is, paying the developers. And $60 today isn't what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think it seems like developers are opting to go with stay with $60, but put in additional systems to make money on top of that, as opposed to raising the price of AAA games to like $70 or $80.
Right, exactly.
But the problem is though, like you pay $60, you still don't get the full game, which is that's where my thing is.
Yeah, it's like
it's $60, but then you got to pay what, another $40-$50 for the DLC passes and all that shit.
Right. It's like there's the stigma around raising the price, which is so developers and publishers have to play this kind of game where you're trying to trick, or not necessarily trick, but just squeeze more money out of people.
Yeah, no one wants to be the first game or developer to make that move. Like you can't. Yeah, exactly. If everyone else is pricing their game at 60, you can't price it at 65. Like it just won't work. You're not going to sell.
Yeah, none of the $60 bullshit. We're going to go $24.99.
God, games today are so gross. Why can't we just go back to when fucking Kingdom Hearts 2 is coming out on PS2?
Dude, just look at it this way: like the greatest competitive shooter, even though I hate it, it's only $15, and it's CS:GO. You know what I mean? And it's one of the best competitive shooters out there. Your game doesn't need to be $60. I'm sorry.
Well,
I mean, maybe
you are treading on a huge discussion. Look at the money put into CS:GO and look at the money put into Battlefront 2, and you'll realize why one is $60 and one is $15.
I think the conversation is more that games have been $60, like AAA games have been $60 for a really long time. $60 today is not the same as $60 a decade ago.
Exactly, yeah.
But games are still staying at that same price point. And so there's a reasonable argument that like $60 just one time may not be enough to get all these AAA games,
all the devs paid.
Yeah, to the point where they need to be. Like we've talked about layoffs and stuff. Like this stuff is not. This stuff happens because it's hard to predict if your game's going to be successful.
So do you think? So in your opinion, do you think that game should have just the normal price point of $100, but you get the full game for it? Like none of this bullshit passes and stuff like that, or would passes then increase as well? Like instead of like a season pass being $100 for a AAA title, it'd be $120.
I think it's too far gone. I feel like if that change is made, season passes are not going to go away. I feel like
you think it's going to increase. Like you think it's going to increase more?
I don't think it'll increase, but it's like I feel like let's say they jump the price up to 70 or 80, and they decide to cut off season passes and make expansions. Like people will start looking at games and looking for notable increases in quality or like content and things like that, and then or do you think we should all go the WoW route then and do $60 with $15 a month subscription
and every 2 years you get an expansion.
I think games should be free to price however they want. I think it's just it gets dangerous when that pricing comes into the model for the game itself. Like WoW,
Right,
I don't know, WoW maybe treads this line now because you can pay real money to do like faction transfers and other not required
You can also
things,
buy
but
gold. You can buy gold in WoW.
you can now, but like let's ignore that for right now and say like for a long time WoW was just literally like it's $15 a month. There is no other price. You're paying subscription to access the game. And that's fine. Like either you think that's a good value or not. Either you think WoW is worth $15 each month or you don't. I think where it gets harder is if you have little things you can pay for in the game that give you that slight advantage. But again, like people should be free to price things however they want. I'm personally surprised that the market is willing to accept those things. Like I'm surprised that some of these games are as successful as they are. Like the Battlefronts of the world. I have no interest in that. But clearly people do. Like clearly people are buying COD map packs or they wouldn't sell them. I don't know why people buy COD map packs. I would never do that. I don't think those maps are worth, $10 or $15. But
what's really sad about that too? What's sad about that is that sometimes there are really, really good maps and no one is playing them because no one is going to buy the season passes. Like Black Ops 2, for example. I love that game, but I never bought the DLC, and there's so many sick maps that, I would have... I'm just going to be reiterating this point.
Don't forget about the pre-order bonuses, too, in them games.
Oh, shit.
We never even talked about the pre-order bonuses you get. You don't want to miss out on the pre-order bonuses, so you got to buy 3 months early for them pre-order bonuses, my dude. And you get that double XP with that,
like
or maybe
Origin Access. Play the game 3 days early if you pre-order.
The fuck?
Get the Day Zero edition. Fuck off.
You got to get the pre-order edition. You have to get the collector's edition, and you also have to get the season pass. And then, hey, there's microtransactions too.
At this point, I'm just saying fuck it, and I'm just gonna play Dark Souls and Bloodborne.
I'm just playing Diablo for the rest of my life as well.
Right. Yeah. These games I know. Don't fuck me over. I feel like we got to get moving. We had a great discussion, but
speaking of gambling, in 2013, Marvel took a gamble on the game Marvel Heroes, and I'm afraid after 4 years, that gamble did not pay off because Marvel Heroes is shutting down.
Dude, the problem with this game was it's so fucking confusing on what heroes you own. Like I put hours in that game, but like. It wouldn't tell you what heroes you owned and what you had to buy. And I was so confused.
It seemed like a Diablo. It was like Diablo-esque. It was like a sort of third-person, real-time action strategy type game. But I remember playing this. I played it a little bit, like a long time ago, and I was just like, man, this game is like if I tried to make Diablo with Marvel characters. And it was slightly worse than like real Diablo.
It's just like it didn't give you like Diablo. At least like it throws you in the world, but it shows you what to do. Like you can do rifts, you can do this. This game literally threw you into a hub and said, "Go." And I was just like, "Wow, I have no idea." And there's like crafting, and there was too much stuff.
Yeah,
and there's too many heroes at one point.
I think I feel like that game also. Like they added stuff to it over time.
Yeah.
And I think they also had some microtransaction-y type stuff in it, which seemed kind of weird. It was free to play, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was free to play, but you could buy the heroes.
Yeah.
And you could buy like XP boosts and like I think it was like one was like you can buy like it was like I guess they called it like a fluid or something like that, but it gave your like chances of good stuff. Like it increased the rarity drops.
Yeah. Well, this game has been around for quite a while. Like it did release in 2013. So it's been around for nearly 4 years. But yeah, apparently, like this is sort of this is one of the things that sucks because if you loved Marvel Heroes and let's say you did put money into it or whatever, your money as of December 31st is just gone. Like it's literally gone. There is no game after December 31st. They're shutting it down, which
like you can't play offline even?
I don't think so.
That's awful.
Yeah, it says apparently
really
that and they tweeted that the game servers would shut down after December 31st, and they're removing the ability for players to buy things in the game. So, like they're getting rid of the mechanisms to purchase things in the game because they're planning to shut the servers down. It sounds like in a month and a half.
Dude, that's terrible because if that's like a Diablo type, that means and people that have played it, they've spent hours in that game. Then
Yeah.
that really sucks, dude.
Yeah, it's a shame that, I guess obviously it takes staff and money to keep servers running, but it's kind of a shame because I'm sure there are some people out there that probably really love this game.
Yeah.
And if they spent money on it, like that is a real kick in the teeth for the game to just shut down, and you have nothing to show for that money you spent.
I mean, you can always limit I feel like the player base that's there, if they just limited I don't know the size of the player base, but I just feel bad for them dudes who.
Well, it can't be great if they're shutting the game down.
Yeah, I agree. But I always feel bad because I watched that there's a video of some old dude who used to play this MMO, and he played it his entire life, and they shut it down. And he was just fucking crying, and now I always feel like there's some old dude out there who's playing this game, and now he's sitting there just crying.
Oh,
terrible.
Ying, did you ever play Marvel Heroes?
I have no experience with that game whatsoever.
Well, have you ever played a game that shut down on you?
No, actually, I have not. I have not experienced that. It sounds awful though. It sounds upsetting.
Brandon, have you? Because you're getting to that point where you've seen some.
I mean,
the
closest I would have to this is Star Wars Galaxies. That was I stopped playing it because of a decision they made, and then it eventually did shut down. But it's a similar thing to this where it's you want to imagine they didn't have to shut it down, but when you're running a business like this, at some point you have to decide, do you want to keep supporting it and putting money into it, or do you want to just make a clean break and shut everything off, and move those employees to other projects and stuff. I
wish they just left it on, but just made it smaller.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do too. Selfishly, I didn't play this game, but it's it's a part of gaming history that you will never be able to go back and do again. The game just won't exist. All the stuff you bought no longer exists.
I just feel bad for the people that play it.
All the massively multiplayer games like this, when they shut down, they actually just cease to exist. You can't ever go back and play them in any form.
Yeah, I had that happen to me. I was max rank on the Conduit on the Wii, and they turned off Wi-Fi for the Wii. And now I can never play that beautiful disaster of a game where you could glitch and load into the test map, and everybody would play in that. Hackers everywhere.
Dude, I just put myself in the shoes of dude, what if next week the Diablo devs just go, hey, we're shutting down Diablo 3.
Not gonna find shut down Diablo 3.
But just put yourself in that shoes of a game that you've been playing for. I've been playing Diablo 3 for 5 years. You know what I mean? That's almost half a decade. Since I've been in high school when the game came out.
Yeah, people invest a lot of time into games, and I haven't really invested time into these games that end up shutting down, but a lot of people have.
Yeah.
So it is a real shame when it just shuts down completely, and especially this one is really fast. I feel like other games when they shut down, they'll say we're going to shut down in a few months and
this is
whatever.
Literally
this is this is a month. There's quite a few angry tweets, responding to their official statement, about people that have spent hundreds of dollars or whatever, and the game's just getting shut down like that. Yeah, actually, the closest example I have will be Tribes Ascend. It's not actually shut down.
This game.
It's not actually shut down, but that's I spent money on that game, and it, for all intents and purposes, died.
I've spent money on this game, and I just realized I have.
On Marvel Heroes?
Yeah. I actually have spent money on this game. I forgot what game it was called. I thought this was the DC one, but no, it was the Marvel one. I bought some heroes in it. Yeah.
Man.
Well, you
man.
better get in there over the next month and get your money's worth.
And do what?
Explore before you can explore no longer.
I put myself in the shoes of the people who, like, I see it as a Diablo style game, so that's hours of grinding in the game.
Yeah.
And it just sucks because, like, them dudes have, like, or whoever, dudettes, and spending money on top of it, fuck. Sucks.
Yeah.
Well,
I miss you, Don Gate.
Marvel Heroes may be shutting down, but guess what's not shutting down?
It's not shutting down.
Minecraft.
I love Minecraft.
Iron on my pick, diamond on my sword.
No, don't. We don't need to go down that road.
If you
Yeah, that's the Minecraft parody. Galaxy Ghosts. He has like 30 like Minecraft parodies. They're so good.
if you've been thinking lately that Minecraft, it's just been getting a little dull, it's been getting a little stale. There's not you've done everything you can do. You've killed all the little monsters. You have the best pick in the game. Well, guess what?
Spoken like a
Minecraft.
true Minecrafter.
I've played a lot of Minecraft. If you can tell. Minecraft is adding all sorts of aquatic stuff in spring 2018. They're going to add tridents, shipwrecks, dolphins, coral reefs, and much more.
It's almost like all this stuff's been modded for years.
Right? Dude, underwater stuff. I mean, I don't
sorry.
religiously play Minecraft. Like,
I
it's a fun game, but underwater stuff. What if we had squids? That's it. As far as like oceans go.
I sometimes forget Minecraft. There's a base game to Minecraft that constantly gets updated because I once in a while will jump on and I'll play like a few weeks of like a modded Minecraft on the server or something like that. That completely changes the game. And I'm forgetting, I'm like, man, there's actually people working on the base game of this game that are adding things that modders have done like years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Just a bit strange to me.
Horses forever, like stuff like the Aether or Aether mod.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Like,
oh man, that was great.
Dude, like horses are around like in alpha and they were like, hey, when the game launched like 4 years later, they're like, hey, dude, we finally figured out how to do horses. I'm like, some dude actually realistically did horses, and you just put this blocky thing in.
God, dude, Minecraft. I'm still waiting on the super duper 4K graphics edition to come out. You remember that shit they announced at E3?
Yeah.
The super duper graphics.
Especially once we're in the water. I mean, I want high fidelity.
Oh
Tridents-
yeah, have you seen that?
tridents and
fucking
dolphins?
Have you seen the like realistic water effects, dude? You can put shaders on. Dude,
Oh yeah. I mean, the official version they're doing is, I mean, exactly what we're talking about. It looks like there's just mods turned on, but I mean, it looks
it's just like mods.
It looks incredible.
Dude, what if it's just literally like just a modded client that they just like, hey, and they don't even have it done yet, but they just use someone's mod.
That would be amazing. It's like copied code from like other like mod creators.
It's just copied code from some 13-year-old on Reddit who just like, hey guys, made a water texture for Minecraft.
Oh, that would be so good.
That's one of
They're
the
like,
cool
oh,
things
we
about
should use this in our EA press conference.
It's
That's
the
one of the
same
cool things
texture.
about having mods for your game is you can pretty much build your development roadmap just off of what are the most popular mods.
Or you can just go the Skyrim route and make people pay for your mods now.
That's true. Minecraft isn't. It doesn't seem like Minecraft is doing that. It sounds like this is just a free update, which is cool.
They don't
play
do
Minecraft, but it's cool that they're still adding stuff to it. I mean, I guess if you play Minecraft, this stuff probably sounds pretty cool.
I don't know anyone that plays the base game.
Well, yeah, because you're in your 20s.
Right? Yeah.
Dude,
that game is fucking addicting.
You're not exactly the demographic anymore.
Oh, God.
Dude, nothing's
When was the
gonna
last
top
time you
the
played
fucking-
Minecraft, Brandon? What do you think?
Probably a few years ago. I bought it. I bought it actually, I think, so that I could play it on a laptop, like a really cheap laptop that didn't have a video card, and so I gave that a try, and then I don't think I ever really played it again.
Dude, I bought Minecraft for $5.
Yeah,
And like they
it's a good deal.
PayPal'd me a key. for the game on their
Oh my
website.
God.
And we had to play it through the browser.
You're an old school Minecraft player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Pre-alpha.
I was closely after. I think I bought it when it was still pre-release, like around that time. And last time I played it on PC, it's like I couldn't sign into my account, and then it was like because my password had been changed and my Minecraft account had been hacked. And I get my account back. My in-game name is changed to like Phase Crunch or something. And the little kid who took my account, he has his shitty skin loaded onto his character, like his shitty custom clan skin. And it's
Let's
so
be honest,
ugly.
that was
now.
actually you. Don't lie.
No. I had the fucking Solaire Dark Souls skin on. It was sexy.
I made my own skin. I have my own skin. I'm a farmer.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Is it your OC?
Yeah, dude. Fucking love that. Dude, I'm downloading this after.
Do you guys want to do a 4-way Minecraft Let's Play? Let's do it. Fuck them. I don't know who we're fucking, but
we're not competing against anyone. Oh god.
I'll do it once I can see how this aquatic update goes.
Yeah.
Keep my eyes on it.
Wow, I'm gonna
see if the dolphins are realistic enough for me to dip back in.
Have you guys
see what I did there?
I know this isn't on the doc, but have you guys seen the Sea of Thieves official trailer?
Yeah, I watched the E3 gameplay. That game looks fun.
It looks really good, dude. I watched like hours of it, like on the weekend.
That's like the cell shaded one, right? Or...
I think I'm not sure, but it's like open world pirating.
Okay.
It's pretty dope.
There was that, and I'm thinking of that or like the multiplayer ship fighting. It was like
is it the Ubisoft one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of the different one. Yeah, it was Sea of Thieves. Yeah, that game looks so dope.
Yeah.
So dope. Oh, there's this guy in the museum.
Speaking of dope games, KD, take us into the new releases.
Yes, the new releases. Coming up on the end of the year, not going to see a lot of AAA mammoth games drop, but we've got some good indie stuff coming out this week. But the only
non-indie good indie title here, Final Fantasy. I've never heard of that.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say before Brandon said something. The only non-indie game we have from out of nowhere, World of Final Fantasy is getting a PC port. I did not know about this until World of Final Fantasy is an RPG that is a crossover of every single Final Fantasy. Well, basically, it's like I haven't played it. I have it, but I haven't played it. It's a bunch of it's like new characters traveling and meeting up with characters from every other Final Fantasy, like all 14, 15 of them. I know like Kingdom Hearts is in there too. It's basically, I know Tim Staffanoob has played it. He enjoyed it. There's a lot of fan service everywhere. You've got your Cloud, you've got your Lightning, all the Final Fantasy, icons. But yeah, it's coming out on Steam, and there's no price on the page yet, but I'm curious what they're gonna have it at. So
I'm actually curious of this game. Do you need to know the Final Fantasy lore to play this game?
I feel like if you're playing this game as your first Final Fantasy, this game is not. The point of this game is for Final Fantasy fans. Like, if it's your first Final Fantasy,
whatever, dude, it's fine.
I'm telling you to buy 7, 8, or 9. Those are fantastic.
You probably want to be slightly more invested in the Final Fantasy world.
Yeah, exactly. Because like Cloud is going to show up and it's going to mean nothing to you in World of Final Fantasy.
Who?
Or the main character of Final Fantasy VII, Cloud.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was Goofy.
You're not being on another episode. You're not.
Oh, I'm thinking of Kingdom Hearts.
I am. That's triggering.
They look the same.
Yeah, the aesthetic.
Let's move on.
The aesthetic for this game is kind of interesting. They're all brought up in chat. They look like Funko Pop characters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's not my personal art style choice to be all chibi like this, but I mean, it's cool.
Are you going to be playing it?
I mean, I already own the game on PS4, so I'm not.
You own a lot of games on PS4, don't you?
I know I do, dude. Yeah.
Like Diablo 3.
Right? Yeah. Thanks, man. But yeah, November 21st is when that comes out in PC. Now on to some indie games. So Adult Swim Games is a surprisingly large publisher of some indie games. This game is called Battle Chef Brigade, and it's the next game being published by Adult Swim Games. It's the debut game from Trinket Studios, and it doesn't look too like insane, but it looks like really pretty. It's got some hand-drawn art. It doesn't look too polished, I guess, like just judging from trailer gameplay, but definitely looks like a lot of effort went into it. It's like an action game, like it's like an action game, and you're killing monsters, getting ingredients, and making
super fast-paced.
Yeah, fast-paced, and you're like making food at the end of the day to impress judges. And so there's like a master chef component into your action game.
I have no idea where this game is going. I'm like,
yeah,
it's like a platformer, and then it looks like a mobile game, and then it's like not a mobile game.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on, like a bunch of different elements mixed in. But I mean, it could be good. There's some good games under Adult Swim Games belts, I guess. But we'll see. November 20th for this one. No word on a price yet, according to the Steam page. But yeah, that's called Battle Chef Brigade. Yeah. Now, this next game,
looks good.
I don't know what to think. There are parts of me that are worried, and there are parts of me that are insanely hyped and want this game to be very good. This just showed up to me when I'm going through new releases, like I do every week for the KBMOD podcast, faithfully. And this is an indie game that is made by only 2 people. And the level of, level of polish in this game. This game is called like Nelo or Nello. It's Nelo. And it looks fucking sick.
That's
like
really
the
good.
gameplay, it's like fast-paced shooting. This ninja-looking guy, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance-looking guy, running around with 4 floating guns around him. But then there are also things like the game doesn't look too insanely polished. There are no official voice actors. It's all just aspiring voice actors. Like the voice acting is obviously like it's not terrible, but you can tell it's Mike with his blue snowball voicing those lines, which seems really out of place for this game. But this comes out tomorrow or today at the time of this recording, November 20th. And it's going to be going into early access. And they're saying that the first third of the game is going to be available. And there's going to be some endurance maps, which include online and local co-op. So, I mean,
It's also an action RPG, it looks like.
Yeah, it's like a character action game. That's what it looks like. I'm really getting like those kind of, like Platinum game vibes from it. It looks like a beautiful game.
Yeah.
And just hopes are really high for this one. But
it looks like an incredible amount of work for 2 people to have done.
Yeah, 2 people. I looked up and they did have a Kickstarter where they raised $35K, which is pretty good. But this is an incredible effort for only 2 devs, so. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it turns out well. Just 2 more new releases. There's this game called Tower Fortress, which basically looks like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Downwell at all, but it's reverse Downwell, kind of. It's like you're climbing a tower, basically. Like I would describe this game more, but it is literally reverse Downwell. Just imagine Downwell, but if you were climbing and you've got Tower Fortress, which isn't a bad thing at all. It looks pretty fun and clean. No price yet, according to the Steam page, but November 20th. Again, that's Tower Fortress. And last this week is a game called Tartarus, which I don't know if this is a horror game. I'll drop a link for it in chat. Just going by the trailer, they're going for kind of like a tense feeling, but apparently it's like adventure puzzle game, and it's award-winning. It's the 2017 Terminus official selection. PC Gamer in a preview build said, "Looking down at my sheet of scratch paper, it was one of the most satisfying victories I've had in a puzzle game in a long time." And one of the system requirements in the additional notes, it talks about how you need headphones, lights off, doors locked, and you also need pen and paper. So apparently some of these puzzles apparently they require. Yeah, it looks really, really polished, and I mean, it looks like there's potential for the puzzles to really kind of push the boundary a little bit for games and have you actually interact outside of it to solve them. So
a lot of head bobbing.
Yeah, I hate that motion blur everywhere too. God damn it. I don't know how people think fucking motion blur and black cinematic bars look
And
good.
head bobs.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
Just-
my god. Head
Don't
bobbing
put
in
that in your
Minecraft was
game.
the fucking worst, dude. I could turn that bitch off.
You know, I never met a guy in a video game who goes, "Hey, you know what I really want? Motion blur."
Oh man. I remember when Infinite Warfare was coming out. A really quick tangent. But when they had the beta for that game being released, that game had built-in motion blur everywhere on the console versions. And it looked like dog shit. I could not believe it. And thankfully they took it out before the game came out. But it was just like shocking to me they kept that in there. Anyways, that's your KD trivia for the episode. But yeah, that's the new release section. And yeah, I'm gonna kick it off for these viewer questions. We've got one. Yeah, just one this week, but it looks like a good one. It's from the lovely Love Muffin, known for his KBMOD screenplay based on the novel Pushed by Sapphire. But he doesn't bring us another episode today. He brings us what looks to be an honest question. I don't know if someone else wants to read this.
The title of the email was Actual Question.
Ooh. Well, there you go. Kind of switching it up a little bit. But yeah, I'll go ahead and read it. So Love Muffin, he says, hello. There is a great social concern that as technology gets more advanced, many jobs in the service industry will disappear. The reality is that many of the jobs that have fallen victim to technology were actually killed by consumers volunteering to do the work themselves. Robots do not scan your groceries at the self-checkout. You simply volunteer to do that work. Robots do not pump anyone's gas. Consumers simply do it themselves. This phenomenon has made its way into the video game industry in a few ways. One of the most prominent is funding. Early access allows the game to be funded by people who intend to play it. A more nefarious example is playtesting. Game companies do not have to release a complete product. They polish it based on the feedback of consumers who have paid full price for it. My question for the cast is, how much more work will be foisted on us? Will pre-orders come with mining software that uses our GPUs to help with rendering textures? Will we take surveys to feed an algorithm that spits out AAA games? It seems as if no bridge is too far as long as people continue to help in the nasty process. Hugs and kisses, Love Muffin. This email is at a level of wokeness that I couldn't reach in years. Like, this is not something I would have
question he's
I
asking.
can tell because
the
your
only one.
immediate,
It's
your
so
immediate
deep.
description of the question was wokeness. Whereas
I don't know what he's asking.
This is a
It's
very
so
intelligently worded question, but
What is he asking?
It's so deep. I don't know. It's like
I don't know what he's asking. Is he?
I have never felt disdain towards self-checkout.
yeah.
What does that even mean?
I sort of get where you're going. God, we need to have Love Muffin on the cast to enlighten us at some point.
What's the part with the robots?
I think what he's saying is that some, like, there are jobs that are being taken because we build a system where we can just do the thing ourselves, and so there's not a human that needs to manage like our interface with the system. So his example of the checkout at the grocery store, like, you don't need a person to check you out at the grocery store because a system has been built where you can just be the person checking yourself out. Like, they take off all the rough edges of the process, and now you just self-service that process. So it's not like the computer is doing all the thinking. It's not like jobs are being taken because the computer is like super specialized or anything. It's just that you're now doing the process instead of some other human that works for that company.
Right.
There's like a computer guiding you through what to do, but it's not that the computer is super smart or the computer's doing like these crazy advanced calculations or something.
Right.
It's just like advancement in software where now you can hit the buttons yourself.
So the phenomenon he talked about strictly for video games are both like examples that sound very positive. You know, early access, it can be a positive thing for a game, as such as, you know, playtesting, because obviously there could be mistakes with the development of the game that will be fixed by, you know, a consumer getting back to the developer and tweaking that. But I think to do that massive leap to, Well, it's a specific example for, mining software and a GPUs. I think that might be just memeing. But surveys for an algorithm that spits out AAA games. Like, that sounds like I'm going into like a cyberpunk dystopian future where Activision is like taking questions for like, how they made World War II strictly because fans were consistently asking for, a return to boots on the ground. I mean, even Sledgehammer said they really wanted to make Advanced Warfare 2, but Activision told them, no, you're making World War II because Call of Duty is in a real shitbox place right now. So let's say we're in 2034 and every consumer is filling out surveys with like, what do you want the next Call of Duty to be? Pick the setting, pick the application of jetpacks, pick the map type, pick the lanes. And like, it really does sound like I'm video games and Blade Runner. That sounds like where we're going to.
Actually, it's not as far off as you kind of think. So, not to bring it to a dead horse, but Star Citizen has something like this. You can send community feedback and tell them like what is going on in the game world, and they will change it for specifically your character. So, like you look at the planet size. The planets are pre-generated, right?
Right.
Like the computer does all that, and it's it's unlikely to see the same building in Star Citizen like twice. Like you will never see it again.
So we're going into procedural generation.
Well, I guess that's what he's kind of asking. Like,
right?
Could we advance with video games so much that procedural generation in video games could actually pump out a AAA title?
I don't
like
I
the
think
game
that
itself.
There's
concept.
I think that the thing that computers, it's going to be a very long time before computers can do something like create content that a human will find compelling all on its own.
For a computer to pump out like an actual story.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I think that the computers, I mean, obviously technology is advancing, but the place where computers like can't do currently is like create a story, create something that's going to resonate with a person.
Yeah.
They can do the relatively simple things like I want to create 1 million planets, and so I want to have like a matrix for what those planets could be. But then the computer kind of picks different features, and that creates a planet. Like I think that that advancement in technology, I think, will help add depth to games because, like you were mentioning, with the help of technology, I can maybe, if I, the human, want to create a story, but I want that story to be something unique to each person that plays it. Like as technology gets better, maybe there are smart things I can do with like the way the computer picks which dialogue to use or something. But the computer is not going to write the dialogue. Like I think that's where it stops. Like the computer is not going to create the content. It's just going to maybe help make the decisions smarter so that the experience is more compelling. But that's still going to be driven by a human.
Yeah, no, it's just basically trying to quantify narrative science. You're not literally creating a narrative, or sorry, the computer's not literally creating a narrative, but you can use it to identify compelling elements from previous examples that it has identified to be resonating with audiences. But it's not going to create something new. All you're doing with this kind of technology is identifying patterns that have been successful in the past and likely narrowing them down to things that have worked previously, but it has to come from previous examples. I mean, the best parallel I can think of is something like political science. Political science is trying to understand behavior in past politics to better predict future politics, but it's not actually identifying new forms of governance or anything like that. So this is just basically just what most businesses would refer to as research. Just trying to find what resonates better and then implementing technology to make that more accessible. I don't think that's anything new, nor do I think it's a bad thing. Like the thing that stood out to me in this question is it seems as if no bridge is too far as long as people continue to help in the nasty process. Is it a nasty process? Like to me, this just kind of sounds like we have more in-depth research and we're able to execute it on it. We're able to execute better with that information because of the advancement of technology.
I think
God,
content,
you're so fucking smart. It hurts.
Content, I feel like, is the last place where jobs are going to be lost. Like creative jobs can't really be replicated
Right.
by a computer
Absolutely.
with our current understanding of technology.
I feel like the notion of this question is based off of like, the question, do you think humans are ever going to run out of ideas for things? Like, oh, what if we had a machine that made ideas? And
I mean,
I
to
just
be
don't think
fair,
that's
like, if
possible.
you look at it,
There's
like,
never going to be like
have
a
we
system
had,
of
like-
variables that will create Orion Dino Beatdown. Like that's just
But have
not
we had
possible.
like in the past few years? You gotta think of it like even like this. Have we had different ideas for video games, or has it all been the same kind of recycle?
Yeah, I think games are on the push. Like as far as games doing things that only that media could do. For example, Nier Automata. The end of that game, I'm not going to spoil it, but that's just something that no other form of media can do. It tells a story in only way a video game can, and it also does something that like no other video game has done, and something to push that creative bubble out further. Like
I'm coming in
innovate
from
like
a more
that,
like
yeah.
an FPS like genre basis. So
Oh.
not like single player, but like even like if you look at it like single player, yes, that story can always change, but how far can we go until the story is always the same? Like the the good guy always wins and stuff like that.
I mean, I think you're talking about, are our genres getting more stale or something? That's not the point of this question. The point of the question is, could computers start coming up with that stuff on their own? And the answer is like 100% no. There is no algorithm that will spit out a AAA game, because I want to hone in on Ying's point. Like, algorithms are taking data we already have and then trying to turn that into something, that informs us about what we could do in the future. Like, computers aren't coming up with new ideas. They're not creating ideas. They're taking inputs we give them and then turning that into something that maybe we didn't think about, but we thought about putting the inputs in such a way that that something came out of it.
The story, right?
So like computers creating ideas just like doesn't mesh with our current understanding of technology. Like maybe 100 years from now or something, but that's not like a 10 years away thing. That's like there is no such algorithm, because humans have to create algorithms, and you create algorithms based on data. So I think you
don't think like, so we're talking about like if a computer can literally write a story by itself, right?
Right. I mean,
without giving it any.
It would have to have inputs from stories already written, and they might like those works would be new, because it would be combining works from the past in ways that we have never seen, but the work itself would not be new. It would be based on inputs.
Exactly.
That's like, let's really simplify this. If there's a computer there's a computer that tracks what you've been eating for the past month, and it identifies by tracking aggregate data about the meals that you've had, which has no connections. There's just individual points of data that do not connect to one another, other than they are meals that you have had in the past month. It identifies that Hot Pockets are the most common meal that you have had in the past month. That's all it's going to say. It's going to say that you have eaten Hot Pockets 32 times this past month. But that's as far as that computer gets. A human has to look at that and interpret what that means.
Right, there's no innovation.
Alternatively, you can also have a computer that will say, well, let's design a computer that will buy for you your favorite foods. Okay, well, it can identify that you've purchased or that you've eaten 32 Hot Pockets in the past month. So it might just buy you 32 Hot Pockets, but it's going to buy you Hot Pockets. It's not going to invent some new food based on the things that you've had. Like, even if it did, it's still taking that previous input of something that you've already eaten. It's not going to generate something new based on previous input. It's going to maybe assemble it differently, but again, it's not going to interpret that data and make something brand new that's going to blow your mind out of it. There's always going to be a human component of creativity.
Exactly.
I think the places that are getting replaced by computers are like service industry type jobs, where the humans are an interface to either eating food, right? When you go to a restaurant, there's no reason necessarily that a human has to serve you the food, right? A human probably cooks the food, because like that's kind of hard for a computer to do. But
Right.
a human doesn't have to serve you the food. You don't have to have a human give you the check, a paper check where you write a tip in a pin. Like, you could automate many pieces of that and eventually remove a human from having to come out and serve you the food.
But you could also do that. You can do that to a video game to an extent, still, right?
I
Here,
mean, maybe
I've
certain
come up
pieces
with-
of it. Maybe.
Like, I mean, literally, you don't need like, for the most part, you don't need the level designers anymore in video games.
Now here's the thing.
Well,
Like,
hold on.
let's-
That's a
yeah.
ridiculous comment.
But no,
If
I'm
you
saying
want-
what I'm saying. I'm
That's a
saying you don't.
ridiculous thing to
How?
say.
With procedural generation, you don't really. I mean, it's not like I'm sorry to bring it back to
have to
Diablo,
de-
but it's not like
someone
someone
has
sitting
to
down and
design-
designing every
Someone
dungeon.
has to design how the procedural generator works. They're still
every time,
designing
but there's
it.
no
Yeah.
level. There's
No,
no,
no.
but there's no
I've got
actual
it.
someone. What? You got
I've
it?
got it, dude. Listen,
You got it?
let's
All right.
let's equate this to the great American game of Yahtzee. One of the stupidest, worst games ever made by man. All you do is roll dice. But let's look at the Yahtzee cup, okay? Let's say the cup is the algorithm for creating stories, game design, whatever we want to apply this question to. The sources that this machine, this cup is taking from are the dice. And every single time you shake it and pour it out, you're going to get a different combination of dice, therefore making a different game. But humans are the only people that can put in the dice, the additional variables, the additional content. So therefore, if you only have this one thing spitting out the same dice every single time, there's going to be a lack of innovation. You're just going to start seeing the same thing over and over again if you've got this machine making level design or stories or whatever. And human innovation and new human ideas are the new dice being added to this Yahtzee fucking cup.
Finally, Yahtzee has a purpose.
I actually just learned. I just literally just learned how to play Yahtzee.
No, I
Yahtzee-
mean, really, I think this question really just comes down to there's a divide between the creative and innovative aspect of any industry versus the research methodologies and how well we can execute on it. That's really all it is. Like, and
I think this question's just overthought, and I think we
that's
should
what I
just
mean.
say
Like, I think these are. I think all he's pointing out is that, especially, specifically in the gaming industry, I
the
think
rabbit hole.
parallels with like the grocery store self checkout. I don't think that necessarily rings with what we've narrowed this conversation to, but this basically looks to me like, yeah, we have better methods to collect information, and technology allows us to execute on it better. And so I don't know if I quite understand. Like, the reason I think I might be misunderstanding his question is because he refers to this as a nasty process, and I'm failing to see where this gets nasty.
Yeah, I agree.
I
will
think
say-
maybe he means nasty in the sense that it's like it's cold and less personal. Like
Okay,
with the
I can
removal of
understand that, because
removal of
it's gonna be
humans.
less
It's like a-
abstractly organic, right? Like, it's
Because
gonna
the
be
robots
shaped
are taking our
previously.
jobs.
Yeah,
That's what it
okay.
comes down to.
Yeah,
we need
it's
to
gonna
all
be-
keep our guns, and we need to stop the robots from taking our jobs.
Yeah. Okay. Now I understand that. Yeah, you're saying that it's because there are going to be
It's
more.
us versus them, Yingity. It's us
Okay.
versus them.
All right. I guess we're just going to a.
Do you
robot
want to become a
apocalypse.
robot?
You know,
Wait,
I will
hold-
say,
In your vision of a robot apocalypse, are robots turning people into robots?
Yes.
Are you
the Borg? Have you heard of the Borg?
Have you somehow combined zombie and robot apocalypse? I guess
Listen,
that is what
if
the
you
Borg
start,
are.
if you want to
Ooh.
prescribe collective minds, I want to be alone because I am not no robot. I'm a free man.
That's
All right.
why that's
I
why
can
we
have
gotta
my
you
early
you
access
bring
if I want.
for better or worse, you bring a human element to your job, and that provides that provides some level of personality to what you and your company do. If you remove humans from that, it becomes maybe more objective, but also more cold, like less sentimental, less
Until robots
less-
learn emotions.
less interesting.
Until they evolve.
That's the
But
thing.
then
No,
Skynet happens, and then time travel, and then it gets into.
There's
No,
like
I'll
a real limit to how far that can go, though. Like, simulating emotion in one context doesn't mean that you can now turn that robot that has simulated emotion into a level designer just because it doesn't cross those
I don't know,
thresholds.
dude. If he has sentience, then he could be whatever he wants to be because he's sentient. Like, You need to go back and you need to watch Star Trek Next Generation Season 2, episode, I think it's like something 40 or something like that, or it's like 2013. It's like Data deals with sentience. Is Data a sentient being? He's aware, he's intelligent? Yes. Does he have emotions? No. Can he write a sympathy? No. He even says that.
All right, I would like to thank everyone for listening to the last podcast Hardball is going to be on.
What? Star Trek is an okay thing to reference at this point in time.
It's fiction.
Because Data even says, with quote, I cannot put the human feeling into writing my music. So it'll never be good.
That's a good way to cap off that question.
Data's not a fictional character. You're a fictional character.
Ooh. I feel like I will say, and I mean this in the nicest way, this question gave me a headache. Like, this gave me, my head legitimately started to think so much it hurt from this question.
I never think enough to hurt.
Yeah, I don't think you think enough to feel.
I never feel.
I'm sorry, that was rude.
That is, as the kids would say, savage.
Oh, man. That's a millennial.
Speaking of savage, we have no iTunes podcast review of the week.
Come on.
Speaking of savage.
Savage towards the
I wrote one.
Dan, would you like to tell people how they can leave a podcast review on iTunes? Because maybe they don't know how to, and that's why they didn't leave one.
You go to iTunes, you search KBMOD, you find the podcast, you write a review, 5-star it. Right?
Boom.
Yeah,
boom.
Easy. Done.
It's easy. I can do it too. And I can't even barely watch Rick and Morty.
Hardballer's review in our document here is "It was good."
It was good.
It was good.
God.
So see, it could be something so simple.
It's also the possessive it's.
We don't. You know what though? It can be however you feel, right? 3 words. It gets the emotion across. We know that a robot didn't leave this review, probably. But yeah, you leave us 5 stars, and because that's what we deserve, and we may read your review on the cast. So I think that's about going to do it for us here on episode 301 of the KBMOD podcast. I hope everyone in America enjoys a nice Thanksgiving week. And for people like Ying in Canada and elsewhere, I hope that you enjoy seeing the pictures of all the delicious food we're going to eat in America.
True. I'll live vicariously through the 3 of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to thank you guys for coming on the cast. KD is at KDZen_ on Twitter and Twitch and other places. Yingity Yang at Yingity Yang, twitch.tv/Yingity Yang. Find him everywhere. Dan, you are at Hardballer25 everywhere. So you can find Dan if you so desire. That's where you will have to find him from now on, because you won't find him here on this podcast again.
Wow.
And I am at Volition. That's VOL1TION. And you can find all things KBMOD many places. KBMOD.com is the one-stop shop. We're on Twitter at KBMOD Gaming. We have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/KBMOD Gaming. Go ahead there and check out Julian's review of Destiny 2 on PC that we posted this week. We've got a Facebook page that we occasionally post things to if you use Facebook. And Discord and everything else. So go check it out, kbmod.com. And we will see you next weekend, I believe, for episode 302. So thank you for coming out, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Good.
I didn't hear you, Dan. What was that?
Yeah. Is that good? Yeah.
That was good.